You're invited to join us on a reverse 2.5-day trip on board the beautiful Apollo out of 22nd Street Landing, departing June the 11th at 10 a.m. Wow, does that give us incredible range, and returning 7 p.m. on June the 13th. This is going to be a great fish. It's got all kinds of possibilities, from bluefin tuna to white sea bass to halibut and so much more. Friedman Adventures Charters puts you in the fish. Make sure you text us today so you can get on a trip and you just might catch the fish of your dreams. Friedman Adventures Charter, 657-227-6459.
What a fish! Yeah!
Hey, good morning, everybody. What a show last night. Tackle Shop Confessions Live. You can go back and watch that right now. It's a beautiful morning. I'm getting ready to set up for the MB, and man, is it active down here. There are pelicans hitting the water. There are all kinds of white termbirds in here in the short water. I mean, very, very close. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning,
It's good to see you.
You too.
Thank you.
Fishing's been good.
Thank you for the great reports.
I'll get you another one in the morning.
All right, you take care. There's a great guy. He watches our reports all the time. It's so good to see him. And back here to this active water, wow, is it looking good. Birds are hitting the water, and there's a large pod of dolphin that may well entertain you during the morning briefing today. It's really active down here. I've got a lot. Bluefin tuna, white sea bass, and so much more. Yeah, it's time for the MB. Let's get to it. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California on this truly gorgeous Tuesday morning. Just look at that ocean. Back there, you might see some dolphin playing around. They've been feeding as I've been walking the beach here, taking a look around, and it is an absolutely gorgeous morning. Beautiful seeing so many good friends here on the beach who love to listen to the morning briefing. Sometimes actually in person. We're starting to gather a live audience here on some morning. So I'm standing here and I've got people right in front of me listening to the MB. Wow, do we have a lot to talk about? And I mean sincerely a lot to talk about. Bluefin tuna. There are some big ones lurking, but did the roller coaster continue? One day they're biting, one day they're not. I'll have all that information for you. South of the border, down around Ensenada, we continue to see some fish down there in that neck of the woods. Also bluefin, yellowtail, and then backing it up with the rockfish. Also up here as we take a look around, that white sea bass bite is imminent. It's going to blow sky high one of these days. Where is it? Where is it going to take place? I'll have information on that. And Catalina Island showing some signs of life. Some good halibut fishing on the pursuit yesterday. I talked to a private boater who had not only halibut, but white sea bass, and also making live squid at Catalina Island. That bodes well for our Thursday trip on the El Patron. One spot available on that one. And man, the weather forecast is for gorgeous flat calm seas with very little wind at all. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. I need this little shot right now. Oh my God. What a lot of fun we had on Tackle Shop Confessions last night. That was a great show with Sam De La Torre. I highly recommend you check that out after you listen to the morning briefing. That was a lot of fun. We answered a lot of questions, covered a lot of ground from bluefin tuna to white sea bass to halibut, and had a lot of fun with some of the most experienced and most talented rod builders on the show last night doing the chicken dance. Well, you're going to have to watch and see what we're talking about. That was truly a lot of fun. Don't forget, hit that like button. We deeply appreciate it when you do that. Also, share these videos with a friend. Also, you can subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel and tick that little bell because you'll be notified when there's new content. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Always great to be with you all. As I mentioned, we do have one spot available on the El Patron if you'd like to grab it. 657-227-6459. 6459. Text me, send me a text, I'll get back to you, and you can grab that last spot. It's going to be beautiful at the island El Patron on our last trip, those big rockfish. But I truly believe we've got a chance at not only some halibut, perhaps some other stuff. There's been a little bit of bonita, a little bit of yellowtail, a few bass, nothing wide open on the surface bite, but starting to show some great promises, and I'll get into the pursuits catch here in just a moment. Wow, let's go south of the border. Now down there, they are starting to pick a few more bluefin tuna daytime fish. Overall, the bluefin tuna bite out of Ensenada and everywhere else is just really slow. It just doesn't manifest in the daytime hours. Nighttime is the right time. However, we'll talk about what happened last night. It was not a great night for San Diego-based boats. But down there in Ensenada, we're definitely seeing that fish, bluefin, around Punta Banda, up off Rosarito now. Also, we saw significant 40 to 60 pound bluefin tuna yesterday, and also mixed with it some big grade bonito, occasional kelp patty yellowtail, not much there either. So mostly picking away at the species that we just mentioned. However, you can back it up with some great rock fishing down there for most of the pangueros out of Ensenada, and they also can get an occasional flurry of barracuda down there and some good calico bass fishing along Punta Banda and other areas. Really beautiful coastline and a lot of fun to fish that stuff. So starting to see some exotics down there for our friends south of the border. You saw Foca with a couple yellowtails, several other guys had yellowtail. Arnie Man has had some fish here recently. We're starting to see some progress being made down there in that neck of the woods, and hopefully that fish, one of these days, that bluefin is going to start to bite in the daytime. You have to think that it's only a matter of time. Hopefully that's going to happen here very, very soon. Don't forget Ventura Sport Fishing at your service. Island Spirit, Californian, and the Endeavor also has a very special trip. They're leaving Tuesday night, the Endeavor, on an open party trip, and that doesn't happen very often. 805-676-3474. Ventura Sport Fishing at your service. Let's get into the San Diego bite, and man, it was a tough one. The weather came up on the 60-mile bank, making it very, very difficult. Windy, rough seas made the bite really non-existent, so we had virtually no daytime bite and very poor fishing for the entire fleet last night. I know the Royal Star had one. Some guys got blanked. Tribute returned here recently with 7 fish, and they were all beautiful fish, 100 to 150 pounds. One of our Friedman Adventures family members, Cue Ball, was on board the new Loan. He said they had 6 or 8 fish. They did have, however, a 240-pound bluefin tuna. And a guy by the name of Wayne, he had a nice bluefin tuna on the new Loan. No last name for Wayne, but there he is. He's a friend of Cue Ball's. So again, very tough on the new Loan. Very, very tough for everybody. Okay, I'm not picking on the new Loan. I talked to several boats, the Independence. I talked to the Tribute. I talked to the Royal Star, and they were all having very tough and slow fishing with the weather up. I looked at the forecast, and it looks like that area is going to get much nicer. And several boats are on these early departures. One of them is the Tribute, so they are heading out right now, and we'll see how that all plays out. Rick Russell, I spoke with him on the Tribute, and Rick said, Phil, it was a tough one overall, but we're going to get out there. We're going to find some better weather here today, and tonight, hopefully, they are going to put the wood to them. It's been a roller coaster ride on these bluefin tuna, that is for sure. I mean, the new Loan got in the other day, and another Friedman Adventure family member, Phil Miller, was on an extraordinary trip. I think they had 31 fish over 100 pounds, something like that. It was absolutely incredible. Phil Miller said it was just a phenomenal trip, and Cue Ball is watching all of this. Then he goes down and the bottom falls out of the bite. And believe me, I've seen that myself this year. I was on a 5-day trip on the Independence in April, and there was some good fishing previous to that, and then the bottom dropped out. And this recent trip on the Cortez, Rambo, Jim Hughes, the captain of the Cortez out of C4 Sport Fishing, had to hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th, which he did. And so we went through all of that, the emotions of seeing some really good fish before we got there, to it dries up, to they're biting on our very last night. So really a roller coaster of emotions. Last night on Tackle Shop Confessions, go back and watch that show, but we talked about especially Sam De La Torre from Island Fishing Tackle, talked about the need to bring the kitchen sink with you. And nothing could be further from the truth. You for sure want to be geared up for the really big bluefin tuna. You may catch a 25-pound fish. You may catch a 40-pound fish, but you might hook a 240 like they did and land on the new low end. And you're not going to catch it unless you have 200-pound leader and at least 100-pound spectra. I prefer 130. You want to have that line marked so you know what the depth of your jig is at absolutely all times. It is very important to get your bait in front of the fish or you're not going to catch. And in order to do that, you've got to know the depth. You can do that with colored or metered line, or you can mark the line yourself with a Sharpie, but you've got to know where your jig is. Captain says drop down to 240. You've got to be at 240. He's seeing the fish, so that's where they're at. You get your bait in front of them, your chances go through the roof in terms of hooking a fish. Now, there has been some nights where the 100 to 180 gram smaller jigs have been super effective, really effective. That's what you want to use. You're going to talk to your crew and see what it is that they are biting on that particular night. Some nights it's that, and then other nights it's the 300 to 500 gram jigs. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you to bring a variety of different jigs. With West Coast Jiggers HD jig, I've seen it work myself really well. Brian Wynn, fishing expert, he says that works really well. I saw Brian catching fish on those. I saw many people on that trip on the Cortez we were on. So things were really slow. Weather's coming down, and the way this roller coaster ride has been on these bluefin tuna, they'll probably bite full speed tonight. And of course, we'll be watching that for you very closely. Once again, I admonish you all, be prepared for a really big bluefin tuna. Be prepared because they are around. There are some gorgeous fish being taken right now, and you do not want to be undergunned on these fish. I'd rather see you way overgunned on smaller grade fish than being undergunned. Now let's talk about this daytime bluefin tuna. It's really tough to get a bite at all, and it's been that way for quite some time. We haven't seen a really big bite on the bluefin in the daytime for quite some time. Tough fishing, and to make things worse, or let's put it more challenging, those fish in the daytime when you're fly lining want light line, 30-pound. Good fluorocarbon like the GT4 new fluorocarbon from Promar works really well. Don't forget, when you go to promarahi.com, you put in FA, Friedman Adventures, at checkout, you'll get 10% off anything they have there. Lobster traps, gaffs, nets, and GT4 fluorocarbon. Anyway, back to that. Again, you've got to choose a really good hot bait, go with a smaller hook, and use the lighter fluorocarbon to get a bite. So you hook a 60 or 80-pound or 100-pound bluefin tuna on 30-pound, and you got your hands full. Now, there are also some daytime sinker fish, and when you're sinker fishing, you can up that fluoro to 80 most cases. Once again, talk to your crew. They're out there every single day. Things change. This roller coaster ride has the tackle changing, the bite changing, the grade of fish changing, all of that and more. So remember, keep that in mind. But most time, you can fish 80-pound when you are sinker rig fishing. All right, we'll see what's going to happen. Now I have some news on bluefin tuna also moving up the Baja Coast off Rosarito Beach. Let's go to the San Diego, the full day trip out of C4 Sport Fishing in San Diego. We had one of our Friedman Adventure family members on board yesterday, and he was saying, we saw him, man. We saw that 40 to 60-pound bluefin tuna right off Rosarito Beach. It just did not want to bite. But we caught those big bonita, and that's been the name of the game for the offshore guys. Here pretty soon, you would think they'd start to pick at some of those bluefin tuna. So again, go prepared for those bigger grade bluefin tuna. You might be on the 40 to 60-pound stuff, but it would not surprise me. San Diego has done it before in the past where they've gotten into that 100-plus pound bluefin tuna. For right now, however, it's been that big bonita, and they continue to have a lot of fun with that. It's good eating fish. I don't care what anybody tells you, bonito are really good eating. They're biting the surface iron, the yo-yo iron, and bait, and good fun fishing offshore for that. So we'll keep our eyes on that for you very closely. The last time the Mission Belle went to the Coronado Islands, they ended up with 20 yellowtail. So there's some brisk action going on at the Coronado Islands for yellowtail right now. You can back that up also with some rockfish and lingcod and other species there that have provided great table fare. But there's a significant amount of yellowtail there at the islands. A lot, if not most, of that catch on the Bell the other day was on a fly line sardine. That has been working best, but we have seen fish on the yo-yo iron and the surface iron at the Coronado Islands also. Some pretty brisk action. That was a good hit for the Mission Bell. Hopefully we'll see some scores come out of there in the next couple days. Again, the weather forecast is gorgeous. Man, is it beautiful. Pelicans hitting the water, all kinds of white term birds doing their thing. And I don't know if you've seen that pod of dolphin in the background. I don't see it right now, but it's really an active situation here. And hopefully same thing's going to occur offshore. Grunion Run here on the SoCal beaches on the 23rd of May. Michael Limon, who's going to be on the El Patron with us on that trip on Thursday, he's already trying to con me into, when we get in, staying up till midnight and watching the Grunion. So we'll have to see if I can gut it out that long. I don't know. You know, I need my beauty rest, and I know it's not working. Plastic surgery, the only way to get it done. Hey, unfiled taxes, you got to go to our guy, Tim Marquez. He's the very best from A Best Income Tax. Tim's been doing this for 35 years. He's a dear friend of the Friedman Adventures family, and we don't put any advertisers on here that we don't believe in 100%. Tim Marquez, A Best Income Tax. And if you have heating and or air conditioning needs, John Lopez. John's a great guy. I haven't seen John for a while. I hope you're doing well, my friend. And once again, efficient heating and air conditioning at your service. He will solve all your problems for sure. All right, so some pretty good signal on this bluefin, and we've also got yellows at the Coronado Islands. Let's talk islands right now in general, and then we're going to get into some white sea bass info that's looking good. First of all, Catalina Island, where the pursuit out of 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California. 11 halibut yesterday. They backed that up with some excellent rock fishing. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great hit on the flatties for the pursuit. And those guys, you got to give it to them, man. They worked their tails off on that pursuit, fishing in close to the island, going offshore, and loading people up with the rockfish, always trying, always pushing it, always working hard. The freelance yesterday with lots of nice lingcod. I think Greg Obimeko ran that trip yesterday. Big lings and reds and copious amounts of colorful and great eating rockfish on board the freelance out of Davies Locker in Newport Beach. So Cat is looking pretty good. San Clemente Island, a little bit of yellowtail over there. Some of it little small grade, some of it decent grade. Yo-yo iron, surface iron, and bait. But not any really, truly giant hits on the yellows. A little bit of calico bass. We're kind of waiting for this water to warm up a little bit more, but it has yet to get there. And good rock fishing out there. Mentioned private boaters at Catalina. They made squid at Catalina Island. They've been making the squid. They had 61.5 water temperature. You get up over 60 and it's game on. That's when the surface bite will take off at Cat. That's when you could see a hit on the sea bass. And as private boaters, and I'm talking mostly about the guys who live on the island and share information with me, they're telling me they're picking a few white sea bass, nothing crazy, but picking some of the halibut bite has been good for those guys that live on the island and fish there on a regular basis and know that place really, really well. Santa Barbara Island, a few sea bass and halibut up there. Sometimes the halibut bite has been good, and there's been some pretty decent hits up there on that. And then we get you up into the Channel Islands, where I keep saying it, and you're gonna get tired of it, but this white sea bass thing is gonna go off one of these days like you can't believe. There's so much sea bass up there. They're seeing it every single day. Now, Tucker McCombs likes that full moon, and like 3 days after the full moon, which I believe is the 23rd, so 26th, 27th, somewhere in there, we might see that explosion. I'm hoping it takes place a little bit earlier than that, but there's a tremendous amount of sea bass up there. There's some good halibut fishing. The Endeavor here recently had another good hit on the flatfish. They've been doing great, and tons of rockfish. And again, they're going Tuesday night. You can call Saul Adventurous Sport Fishing, 805-676-3474 to get on. In the Channel Islands, when they're not catching halibut and white sea bass, they're loading you up with the rockfish. Yesterday on board the Island Spirit, David Jimenez, a Friedman Adventures family member. He said, Phil, I took your advice. I went on the Island Spirit. No disappointments. Man, oh man, Daniel Hadaway, the captain and the crew were fantastic. David, I'm so happy you had so much fun. He said it started out slow, but man, their last 2 drops were awesome. They loaded up, had great fishing, and more than anything, that crew on board the Island Spirit just doing a great job. Don't forget, Kids Fish Free this Sunday on board the Island Spirit out of Ventura Sport Fishing. Other boats up there in the Channel Islands doing quite well. There's been some halibut hits up there. Same thing out of Santa Barbara, some decent halibut fishing and lots of rockfish. I mean, the rockfish bite up there has been absolutely fantastico, as it has been for the half and 3/4 day guys up and down the Southern California coast from San Diego up to the Channel Islands. When I'm talking about, 8-10 miles from here, maybe going to Catalina Island, guys out of Marina del Rey, Redondo, down at Oceanside, we've seen great fishing. It's been good. In fact, private boater out of Oceanside yesterday, Juan Jesus, he was out fishing the rockfish, and he said, Phil, it was a fabulous day. Juan, I will see you on Thursday on the El Patron. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully some halibut, hopefully a sea bass or 2, hopefully some other surface fish, and then maybe we'll load up on the rockfish. We'll see. It's going to be a gorgeous weather day. Juan, thanks for sharing that. That is great stuff. All right, don't forget, Big Fish Bait and Tackle on the corner of Seal Beach Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway in Seal Beach, California. They've got all the bait you'll need to fish the Southern California coast, and that is begging for you to be fishing today. In fact, the first thing I'm going to do is check out when the high tide is when I get back up there. Try to get the morning briefing on the air and then come down here and throw a jig for a little while, because this looks way too appetizing. I'm going to have to give this a shot here this morning. It looks absolutely beautiful. So again, Big Fish Bait and Tackle, they also are giving away a free custom rod every single month. They've got a free derby you can get in every single month. Don't forget the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club. May the 25th, they start a week-long tournament, a surf fishing derby. It's going to be an outstanding derby. Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club. You can get involved in that and have yourself a ball. That is for sure. Here fishing along the Southern California coast, we've seen some yellowfin croaker, a few more corvina. Man, I can see that corvina biting, also some halibut. And then AJ, who's one of our Friedman Adventures family members, sharing some great video. He was fishing the jetty at Seal Beach. He had one flatfish, nice big halibut that he lost, thought it was legal for sure, and then picked some short halibut, had an absolute ball. AJ, you're number one. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope you're out today enjoying this beautiful SoCal surf. It looks absolutely beautiful, and high hopes that it's going to bite for you again. Man, that is gorgeous, and so is this sunrise here in Surfside, California. All right, so talk about a state of flux. Man, that bluefin tuna was terrible with rough weather last night. Will it come back and bite tonight? Well, we'll be watching that for you very closely. In fact, we'll be watching it in the daytime. That's the reason you tick the bell, so we can notify you when there is new content, and we do that throughout the day. Of course, we'll be watching Ensenada. We'll be keeping our eyes on that white sea bass explosion that I keep talking about. It hasn't manifested yet, but it's coming here by the end of the month. That sea bass bite's going to go off up there in the Channel Islands, guaranteed. And of course, we'll be watching everything in between. Don't forget, we've got a few more charters this year. We're already getting to the end. June will be our last trip until September. June, we got that reverse 2.5-day trip on board the Apollo. We'd love to see you on this Thursday. We are going to be on the El Patron, 1 spot left, 6 spots available on the Island Spirit on May the 31st. And you can get information on all that and more by sending yours truly a text this morning or this afternoon or tonight, doesn't matter when, 657-227-6459. Hey, have a great day, and of course, I hope to see you really, really soon.